How's it going, Rams? I'm Mike Walsh, here to give you a unique edition of Tuesday Night Sports. We've got so much to cover tonight, including live interviews with 3 special guests. So without further ado, here are your top stories for the week. After a 20-point blundering in the Northern Rockies to Boise State and a devastating collapse in Colorado Springs, both CSU men's and women's hoops will look to rebound this week as conference play continues. The Winter X Games were in full swing this weekend. See what Rocky Mountain student media gained from being at the forefront in Aspen. And lastly, as the Super Bowl looms, I'll give you my NFL awards for this year in Hot or Not. All that and more on CTV Sports, which starts right now. We start with the men's basketball team, who, after getting blown out by Boise State on Saturday, will aim to steer back on track against UNLV. And actually, the Rams and Rebels tipped off just moments ago over at Moby Arena. But before you go and look up the score, and trust me, there's not much there, let's preview this meeting to see how CSU stacks up. Now, the Rams do currently sit below UNLV in the standings, but CSU holds the mere season advantage. All thanks to Isaiah Stevens, of course. The senior point guard had the game of his life, most obvious by a desperation heave at midcourt to send the game to extras. The hero Stevens wore his cape throughout the overtime period as well. In the winding seconds, CSU turned to Stevens, where he nailed a step-back bucket to capture a heartbreaker from UNLV. And while we could reminisce over that series of events 17 days ago, do you blame us? It's the last time CSU won. We need to analyze how the schools compare in round 2 and if the Rams are indeed in line for a season sweep. And the stat sheets are more or less not in CSU's favor, though the Rebels have the edge in scoring and defense, averaging almost 4 steals and 10 blocks. The Rams do shoot the ball at a higher clip, though, hitting 48% of their field goal attempts, and what's more, the green and gold share the rock better, and that ability to create plays might be a key factor for a Rams victory. But in all seriousness, this one should be highly competitive, as the Rebels swept the Rams last year despite CSU's run to the NCAA tournament, but now it's time to return the favor in 2023. We'll also provide a live update on that one later in the show. Now we pivot to the other basketball unit in Moby, the women, who as of late have not been killing it. However, the troubles should come to an end this Thursday as they clash with bottom of the league stinker, Utah State. USU is currently an abysmal 1-9 in conference in just 4-17 overall. Yes, you heard me right, 4 total wins. The Aggies lost by 38 points to Utah Tech. I didn't even know the state of Utah had a technology school. Nevertheless, USU is still a D1 program, so let's dig a little deeper into this matchup. First, the team comparisons. Now, I would love to give Utah State some credit, but in all honesty, they're just bad. The Aggies are currently averaging only 60 points a game while allowing roughly 75. Their defense is one of the worst in the country, forget the Mountain West. But yet, this is fantastic news for CSU, a squad that registers about 77 points per contest, which is good for top 2 in the conference. And to sweeten the deal even more, the Rams are 10-2 in games this season where they muster 75 plus. And scoring aside, it is still the green and gold in most categories, blueprinting a perfect design to snap a 3-game losing skid. But this is still D1 athletics, which means quality ballers everywhere. So before we just mark this one down as a win, let's look at some key players for Thursday. First, up on the left, we have Colorado State's go-to arsenal of McKenna Hofschild and Destiny Thurman. Hofschild is a straight-up star, and you heard all about that last week, as she has been insane all year long. And right after her is a dynamic scorer herself, Destiny Thurman, averaging about 14 points on 44% shooting. And glancing over to the right, we see the Aggies' most reliable weapon and only bright spot, Maria Carvalho. The 5'8 grad student puts up a team-high 10.5 points a game while also corralling the most boards with 5. So yeah, not a very optimistic preview for the Aggies, but as I alluded to earlier, anything can happen. College basketball is a strange endeavor, and we'll just have to wait and see. Leah and Madeline will have all the inside scoops for it during Thursday's news broadcast. And transitioning from the court, CSU's track and field team competed in the Colorado Invitational this past weekend. The meet, hosted by CU Boulder, was another opportunity for crucial reps before the Indoor Mountain West Championships. So how did they do? Well, I can proudly tell you another strong outing was in the books. We mentioned her last week, but Milo Gladstein continues to impress. The junior showcased a season-best performance in two categories. First, she won the weight throw with a mark of 19.72 meters, ranking 33rd in the country. Then she closed with shot put throw that set numerous records. I'm about to list them. Are you ready? First, a facility record at the Colorado IPF, also good for 14th in the country, and the fourth farthest throw in school history. Just amazing what she has accomplished so far this season. And Gabby McDonald and Michaela Hawkins also performed well in the strength events. Meanwhile, on the track, Australian native Grace Goldsworthy won the gold in the 400 meter, clocking at just under 56 seconds. Sarah Carter championed the women's 3K, while Quinn McConnell did the same in the women's 800 meter. For the men, Mariano Kiss highlighted the pitch, once again taking first in the men's shot put. And man, after our two opening stories, it's reassuring to know that there's still some positive news circulating in the world of Rams athletics. CSU will return to action next weekend, traveling south to Air Force Academy for the Invitational at the Peak. We'll keep you updated every week as their indoor season persists. And now to more excellent news. Would it be valid to say that CSU's women's swim and dive team is reminiscent of the 1996 Chicago Bulls? Well, not really, because Michael Jordan's Bulls never won 23 straight. The run is just the second longest in program history, and its most recent victim was Northern Colorado last Friday. And though the Bears stole the first race of the day, the Rams started to pull away from there, yielding a comfortable victory. It was a resounding finish to the regular season, but even more momentum heading into the Mountain West Championships, which begin on February 15th. Okay, we've got basketball, track, and swimming. How about we add tennis to the mix? That's right, after the fall preseason, the Rams opened dual season with a doubleheader in the state capital. CSU would face Denver early Saturday afternoon before concluding with Metro State in the evening. Unfortunately, the festivities didn't start as planned, as the Pioneers swept the Rams 4-0. Despite CSU winning a doubles point, Denver won the series. But the later affair was a complete reversal, seeing the Rams defeat the Roadrunners by the same exact score. The singles and doubles panels grabbed enough victories to lead to a satisfying end to the night. But that wasn't where the fun stopped, because before the match, teammates Radka Bushkova and Sharka Richterova announced their plans to return for a third campaign. The Czech Republic products have already etched their names into the Colorado State record books, as Richterova in doubles and Bushkova in both doubles and singles as an all-Mountain West performer. They were the first Rams ever to reach the ITA Fall National in doubles, so yeah, a huge slam dunk for the Colorado State's women's tennis program going forward. And well, when we come back, Rams, collegiate staff Milo Gladstein and Garrett Mogel trotted through the Rockies for a front row seat at the X Games. Hear more about their incredible experience after the break. Welcome back from the break, Rams. And now, if you're during your commercial breaks of either NFL playoff games, you switch to the channel to ESPN, you would find yourself watching ski runs, snowboard tricks, and so much more. That's because the Winter X Games transpired in Aspen over the weekend, and while the snow fell, a pair of collegiate sports photographers were hard at work. Here's what it looked like from the other side of the screen.
Here at 5:30 in the morning, leaving Aggie Village.
Full of at least 3 bags apiece plus food.
One thing I learned in our car ride was how excited you were about being here.
And wow, what do you know? They join me on desk right now. Milo and Garrett, thank you so much for joining CTV Sports tonight. So first, we're going to start off because we saw you guys arrive super early in the morning. Take us through that process overall and explain what that was like. We'll start with you, Milo.
Yeah, right from the go, we were hitting the ground running. We woke up at 4 in the morning, packed up all of our stuff, as you guys saw, and headed out to Aspen. It was about a 5-hour drive, and got there, got our credentials, and then went right into a 2-hour press conference and right into shooting for the whole day. So it was definitely nonstop the whole time we were there.
Yeah, okay. What about you, Garrett?
Getting up at 4 a.m., I'm a night person. Yeah. That was a little rough. But as Milo said, we went right into shooting and we hit that ground running. As soon as we got there and we looked up at the lights and at the features, it was just another world.
Yeah. So it's a positive experience to be there, but the negative is being up that early.
Exactly.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So now we're going to go into some best shots. What do you guys think were some of your best shots, and were there any specific that really stood out for you? We'll start with you, Garrett.
The first shot that comes to mind when you ask that question is a shot I got of Megan Oldham, who set history this weekend, setting the first triple cork in competition, landing it, and I was shooting on a long lens, and we had the broadcast guys right in front of us, so I was shooting between their legs, and it's her and her brother embracing after setting history.
That's insane. That's crazy. All right, what about you, Milo?
I think for me, and this time going to X Games, I really chose to focus on a specific athlete. Crowd favorite Zeb Powell is just incredible and pushing the sport in so many ways. And so for me, I really focused on him and kind of the lifestyle aspect as well as the action. So along with your typical action shots, I think my favorite shot was a beautiful portrait I got right at the start of the Big Air Knuckle Huck area, and really got the chance to work with him a little bit and get a beautiful portrait kind of showcasing who he is as a person and the moment right before he does what he loves the most.
So you're saying that is for sure your favorite?
Absolutely.
Okay, Garrett, we want to hear, what's your favorite shot?
My favorite shot?
Is it the same one you talked about, or is it a different one?
The same one to a degree. However, I got this other one of Kirsty Muir, I think is how you pronounce her last name. It's the shot as she's just about to drop in for Big Air. And she's looking down this steep slope, and she's on the leftmost third of the image, just kind of preparing in that athlete shot of, I'm about to do something.
No, that's a really cool shot. Like, those are just the cool shots that you see before they go, and you can really see the emotion and the passion with them.
Most definitely.
Yeah. But again, thank you two so much for joining me on desk and letting us see a little bit of how the X Games are behind the scenes. Make sure to check out the full story in the Collegian later this week. And well, Milo and Garrett aren't our only guests tonight, because when we return, CTV Cooks host Gideon Aigner has some insight to share on high school basketball in the local region. And it all happens right here on CTV Sports.
Jason, let's go see your room.
That's not right. How was it? Is it good?
Welcome back from the break, Rams. And now it's well known that CSU basketball has been fading on both sides recently. Thankfully, though, the homegrown faithful in FOCO have other avenues for hoops action. High school basketball has arguably never been better in the Front Range. Well, that is compared to the days of our sports director, Brandon. Regardless, I think it's time we investigate basketball in the NoCo area beyond CSU. And to do that, I welcome CTV Cook's co-anchor and local expert in high school athletics, Gideon Aigner. Gideon, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. All right, so we'll start off. We have a lot of teams to discuss today, but first, I know there are two schools in particular that are worthy of a note on the boys' side. How about those?
So on the boys' side of things, we have two extremely dominant squads in 6A. Both of them are top 10. We have Fossil Ridge and we have Fort Collins. Fossil Ridge so far this season is 15-1, and they have a lot of guys to look out for. You got Nick Randall, Matthew Bolt, Ty Brown, Dominic Leone, and they have 8 guys on their squad over 6'3", and only one junior on the entire team. 10 of their guys are seniors. So you have an extremely seasoned squad. Then we have Fort Collins, which are way better than last year. They're 14-2 so far. Already surpassed last year's win total. There you have Luke Wagstaff and Jace King leading the charge, both of which are averaging 20 points per game. So you have a lot of really good players, and both of these teams are looking like they're going to have a first-round bye. Yeah, now I want to give me a little more about Fossil's big man inside, Nick Randall. What makes him so good? I mean, look at it. You got a really good 6'7" guy. He can hit a three. He can bang you down low. He can defend. He can just do everything that you want your ideal big man to do. And on the high school level, having that type of guy is essential.
Yeah. And then for Fort Collins, you mentioned Jamar Mitchell and Luke Wagstaff and Jace King. How about those three guys?
I mean, I already mentioned Luke Wagstaff and Jace King. They're averaging 20 points per game. Luke Wagstaff on 66% shooting.
Pretty good.
They do have a secret weapon, though, in Jamar Mitchell. He's averaging 11 points a game. He can rebound, he can block, he can defend. He cleans up. He's your dirty work guy. And he's somebody that's going to be a real big risk in the playoffs for other teams.
Yeah. And then we're looking at the 6A. Where do Rocky Mountain and Pooter currently sit now?
Now, Rocky Mountain and Pooter aren't quite at the same spot. Rocky Mountain, they're relying a lot on the guy who to start their year was their power forward, Charlie Dortch. And he started the year there because Ethan Thomason was there. But with Thomason gone on his mission, he's having to fill in the role of center. However, Dortch is stepping up. He's averaging 20 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a block a game. And that is a really good thing to have. And you look at Pooter, they're not having the best season. They are headed by, you got Silas McKernan and Caden Cox. Now, you got McKernan, he's your stereotypical big man, 6'7", 220, averaging 14, 7, and 2 assists. And then you have McKernan, who is averaging 25 points, which on the high school level is pretty darn good. He's also averaging a couple of assists, so he's looking pretty good. With how big the 6A playoffs are, all 4 teams are definitely going to make it.
Okay, so now we're going to go down to 3A, and I know Wellington and Tinmath are terrible, but Highland's in 3rd. So what are we looking like over there?
So Highland, they're an extremely quick team. They're averaging 75 points a game. They're averaging, more importantly to me, 13 steals a game. This is a small team. They can go fast. You have Colton and Carlos Steinke, who are leading in scoring, Hyatt Toll, Sawyer Morgan. But the thing is, their biggest player is a 6'3" freshman in Brogan Palmer, who's still getting significant minutes and averaging 5 points a game. And so this is a team that I think is going to go really far in the playoffs, because that speed is better than any height that you're going to get.
And defense does win championships. So when you've got a team that knows how to play defense, you're probably going to go pretty far.
Exactly.
But now let's transition to the girls' side. Give me a rundown of the main area high schools and where they rank.
So first we're going to go with Pooter. So Pooter, they're struggling. They're looking like a playoff team. They're seated at 28th in 6A right now. Their leading scorer, Kavi Vogland, she's good. She's got a solid jumper on her. She has some good passing vision. The problem is, though, she's only averaging 10 points as leading scorer on 28% shooting. So that's going to be a problem come playoffs. And furthermore, I mean, she's only a sophomore. that team is going to be good in about 2 years. So their best days are to come.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's okay to have some rebuilding years.
Yeah.
And now let's go to FOCO. Who do you think is their main player?
I'd say FOCO's main player is Avery Alcaraz. And here we have another sophomore, actually. She is solid. She's got 15 points a game on 33% shooting. So, again, room to improve. Yeah. But junior forward Paige Fry also picks up for the slack, averaging 4 offensive rebounds a game. So she gets a lot of putbacks off of that, and this will be a way better team next year.
Yeah, no, getting those second opportunities is crucial. But now let's go to Fossil. Who are you seeing leading the charge over there?
At Fossil, they have a really special player in Ella Levine. Levine is averaging 16 points and 11 rebounds a game. And she's got some good vision, averaging a couple of assists. She's getting it to the 2 other players on the squad, in Casey Steinke and Kate Davis, that are also averaging double digits. The SaberCats are 10-6, but they have a lot of juniors that are ready to go, roaring to take that spot. So this season, they may win a playoff game or 2. Next season, they'll probably be a little bit better.
Yeah, no, I mean, still definitely good to be excited about your next year.
Oh, yeah.
But now let's go to Rocky Mountain finally. Who do you think is leading the charge over there?
So the Rocky Mountain Lobos are pretty interesting. So they're 12-5 right now, and their main player that you look at is Sarah Chico. So Sarah, she's averaging 15 points a game. Her secondary star, Abigail Seville, she's averaging 11 points a game. So you're looking at 15-11 there. The problem is that only 2 other players on the team are averaging 5 points a game or more. So this is a team that, even though they are winning games now, I want them to prove me wrong in the playoffs, but I don't see them making it far past the round of 32.
Yeah, I mean, if you only got 1 scorer, it's going to be hard to do anything like that. And well, Gideon, thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate you taking the time joining us tonight. We strongly encourage you to check out Gideon and Julie's First Cooks episode from last Wednesday, as they had some delicious recipe ideas for ramen, waffles, and mac and cheese. You can also check out Gideon's podcast, Playmakers Corner, for more in-depth discussion about high school sports. But when we return, the NFL Honor Ceremony is just 9 days away. See who I have taking home each notable prize right after this.
Living with someone you don't know on the other side of the wall is hard, especially if you don't know how to be a good roommate.
The first thing that you'll want to do to be a good roommate is make sure that you always stay quiet. Be considerate of others when using common spaces and appliances.
Hey buddy, what you doing? I'm just gonna need like 40 minutes.
Be respectful of your roommate's privacy.
Ugh, my bad.
Finally, make sure that you clean up after yourself. Oh, a fresh toothbrush.
Have you seen my toothbrush?
Follow these tips to get along with your roommates and your landlord.
Welcome back from the break ramps. Now that the 2022-2023 NFL season has produced many storylines, as it always does, from the Vikings' 38-point comeback against the Colts to Russell Wilson's inability to play football. Fans all around the world have experienced their fair share of ups and downs, but for tonight I'll be focusing on the highs with my nominations for 5 specific NFL awards. So let's get right into it. First, starting with Coach of the Year, I'm going with Nick Sirianni. This is the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, who had the #1 seed in the NFC and hosted playoff games all throughout and got that bye. But they had the #1 scoring offense, and they were #1 for touchdowns per game. But it's not just their offense with Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, and A.J. Brown in it. It's their defense that had the least yards allowed and the least yards per play in the entire league. So a team offensively and defensively super elite, and just a good coach for the entire team. And obviously they made the Super Bowl, but these awards are just on the regular season. But now we're going to go to Comeback Player of the Year, and for that one I chose Geno Smith from the Seattle Seahawks. Didn't really come back from an injury, but last year he was benched behind Russell Wilson, so he didn't play much last year. But this year he went crazy, throwing for over 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, and also having the 7th best QBR, which is QB rating, in the league. He also led the Seahawks to a 9-8 record and qualified for a playoff spot. The other nominations were Saquon and McCaffrey, who I just don't think had as big of an impact on a team as Geno did. But now we're going to go to Offensive Player of the Year with Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson is a receiver for the Minnesota Vikings, and he is an animal, going for over 1,800 yards, just shy of those records up there with Cooper Kupp and Calvin Johnson. Also having the league lead in receptions with 128. So the league lead in receptions and yards, and 11th in touchdowns with 8 on the year. And the other nominees to me just didn't have the stats to put up with Justin Jefferson. Tyreek Hill had lower receiving stats, and the other 2 nominees, Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes, don't seem to fit that narrative of Offensive Player of the Year to me. I think it has to be Justin Jefferson. But now we're going to go to Defensive Player of the Year, which was a bit of a question before the awards. I chose Nick Bosa, but there are definitely some guys you could have chosen over him. One of the guys that wasn't even nominated, Hassan Reddick for the Philadelphia Eagles, had 5 forced fumbles, which was 3 more than Nick Bosa, but Nick Bosa did have the league lead in sacks by 3 sacks total, ending up with 19. He was just an animal on that 49ers team, and a big reason that they were the #1 overall defense in almost every metric except for a few this past year. Him and Fred Warner are easily the leaders of that 49ers defense, which has been so good this year. But now we're going to go to the most important award, and we're going to go with Most Valuable Player, Patrick Mahomes. For me, this one wasn't really a race, as Mahomes led the league in yards and touchdowns and had the 14-3 record, good for the first seed in the AFC. But what really spoke to me about Mahomes this season was he lost his all-pro, maybe top 10 receiver ever, Tyreek Hill, and he still produced an amazing season, getting his career high in yards and getting pretty close to that career high in touchdown numbers. I know he still had Travis Kelce, but his other weapons just were not that good, and he still led the team to the #1 record in the AFC. And now, as I said, these awards don't count the playoffs, but he did just lead the Chiefs to the Super Bowl, and we'll see how that goes in 2 weeks. But now we are going to go into a live update, as I promised you from earlier, from CSU UNLV over in Moby. Currently, CSU is down 7 points, but there's still 10 minutes remaining in the first half, so a lot could change. But Isaiah Rivera is currently the leading scorer with 6 points. But the Rams, they know what they need to do. They beat this team once, and they can do it again. But with that, Rams, that's all of the sports action I have for tonight. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for the first spring episode of Local Beats. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night, and we'll see you then.